Did you know that the mysterious Book of Enoch was excluded from the Christian Bible? The Book of Enoch contains astonishing stories about fallen angels who had sexual relations with women, giving birth to giant men. It also narrates surprising visions about the end of the world. Although this book was well known and appreciated in the early days of Christianity, it was removed from the biblical canon in 363 AD. One of the main reasons for this is its controversial stories and teachings that some religious leaders considered a threat to true faith. However, interest in this book has grown again in recent times as an additional piece to understand the puzzle of human history. What do you think of this mysterious book? Would you like to read it someday? I invite you to stay until the end to learn the complete answer to this mystery and gain valuable lessons for your spiritual growth. The Book of Enoch is an ancient work attributed to Enoch, the grandfather of Noah. Enoch is an enigmatic character mentioned in Genesis, known for walking with God and being taken to heaven without experiencing death. But what makes this book so special, and why wasn't it included in the Bible? To understand this, we need to be transported to an ancient time when society was heavily influenced by religion, politics, and traditions. The people of Israel lived in an environment dominated by powers like Egypt, Assyria, and Babylon. It was a time of constant conflicts, not only military but also ideological. The Book of Enoch consists of several sections, and one of the most famous is the Book of the Watchers. This section describes how a group of angels called Watchers descended to Earth and mated with human women, creating a race of giants. This story expands and details the brief mentions in Genesis of the sons of God and the daughters of men. For a society struggling to maintain a coherent and orthodox theology, such stories could be considered dangerously speculative. Imagine ancient religious and political leaders deeply evaluating which texts should be included in the scriptures. Their goal was to create a canon that would guide the faith and practices of the people of Israel. The accounts in the Book of Enoch, with its apocalyptic visions and rebellious angels, could easily be seen as a threat to established doctrine and social stability. Additionally, the Book of Enoch contains visions of the final judgment and cosmic secrets witnessed by Enoch during his ascension. These visions and revelations, though fascinating, could be considered too esoteric for Orthodox faith. The fear that such ideas might lead believers away from the true worship of God and His covenant with Israel was a powerful reason for its exclusion. It is also important to consider the cultural context. During the Second Temple period, Persian and Hellenistic influences introduced new ideas and practices. Amidst these influences, religious leaders tried to protect the purity of Jewish faith. Thus, works that could be perceived as syncretisms or deviations, like the Book of Enoch, were relegated outside the approved texts. Focusing on this, we can learn a valuable lesson. Sometimes what is excluded or set aside can have a profound and significant impact. In our daily lives, it is essential to evaluate what we accept and what we reject, knowing that every decision shapes our meaning and identity. By exploring ancient texts like the Book of Enoch, we not only uncover the mysteries of the past, but also gain a broader and richer perspective on our faith and culture. Have you ever imagined a world where angels descended to Earth and changed the course of humanity? Now I will guide you through one of the most fascinating and controversial aspects of the Book of Enoch, the story of the fallen angels. In ancient Israel, beliefs and stories were powerful tools for imparting moral and spiritual lessons. The story of the Watchers, who were fallen angels, is one of those stories that combines elements of mystery and surprise. According to the Book of Enoch, a group of angels known as Watchers disobeyed God and fell to earth. There, they mated with human women and gave birth to a race of giants known as the Nephilim. Imagine life in that time, a society based on agriculture and livestock, where communities were small and environmental threats were constant. The appearance of giant and powerful beings would have been a terrifying and inexplicable event. These Nephilim, according to the story, brought with them an era of violence and corruption that threatened the peace and stability of society. The Watchers also revealed forbidden knowledge to humans. They taught them arts such as magic, astrology, and the use of medicinal plants. While today we might see some of these teachings as advancements in knowledge, in this ancient context, they were considered corruptions of divine knowledge. This transmission of dark knowledge challenged the power structures and religious authority, creating an apparent tension between tradition and innovation. For the religious leaders of the time, it was crucial to maintain a pure faith, free from external influences. The story of the fallen angels posed a direct threat to divine authority and established doctrine. The teachings and practices introduced by the Watchers could be seen as a danger that distorts the true worship of God and leads people away from their fundamental beliefs. The fear of the influence of these stories was one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was excluded from the biblical canon. Religious leaders feared that the detailed descriptions of the rebellious angels and their teachings could lead the faithful down a path of confusion and disobedience. As we reflect on this fascinating story, we can learn an important lesson. In our lives, we are often tempted to divert our attention and energy toward knowledge or practices that may seem attractive, but that take us away from our fundamental values. It is essential to critically evaluate what we accept and how these influences can affect our lives and beliefs. In ancient Israelite society, knowledge and wisdom were highly valued, but also strictly regulated. Daily life was heavily influenced by religion, and religious authorities maintained strict control over acceptable teachings. The Book of Enoch tells how the Watchers, these rebellious angels, imparted forbidden knowledge to humans, changing the course of history. One of the skills taught by the Watchers was astrology. At a time when life depended on agriculture and natural cycles, the ability to predict the weather and seasons by studying the stars was incredibly powerful. However, this knowledge also included a perception of the universe that could challenge the religious view of the world, endangering faith and obedience to God. In addition to astrology, the Watchers taught people the use of medicinal plants and healing techniques. While today we view this medical knowledge as common, at that time, this type of knowledge was viewed with suspicion and often associated with witchcraft and sorcery. In a society where diseases and epidemics were common, control of this knowledge could be seen as an almost divine power, something that religious leaders could not allow to escape their control. Imagine living in a community where the boundaries between life and death, health and illness, were constantly at the mercy of invisible forces. The introduction of this knowledge by the Watchers not only challenged existing power structures, but also offered a dangerous hope of autonomy and power outside the traditional religious domain. The narrative of the Book of Enoch also includes the teaching of magic and the dark arts. This knowledge, considered a corruption of divine knowledge, was accompanied by practices that led people away from true faith. Religious leaders feared that such teachings could lead people to idolatry and sin, deviating from the path of justice and obedience to God. As we reflect on this fascinating story, we can learn an important lesson. In our lives, we are often faced with decisions about what knowledge and practices to adopt. It is crucial to discern what brings us closer to our fundamental values and beliefs and what might lead us astray. I invite you to continue exploring these mysteries with me and discover how stories from the past reveal not only the struggles and dilemmas of antiquity, but also offer us valuable lessons on integrity, wisdom, and the pursuit of true knowledge. Did you know that, although the Book of Enoch is not in the Bible, its influence has resonated through the centuries? Now I will tell you how this ancient text has generated controversy and fascination in religious history. To understand its impact, we must go back to the Second Temple period in Jerusalem, a time marked by social, political, and religious changes. At that time, the people of Israel lived under the rule of powerful empires such as the Persian and Hellenistic empires. These foreign influences introduced new ideas and practices, challenging established Jewish traditions. Religious leaders fought to maintain the purity of the faith and prevent their people from straying into practices considered pagan. The Book of Enoch, with its detailed accounts of fallen angels, giants, and celestial secrets, offers a rich and complex picture of the spiritual world. However, this richness itself became a subject of controversy. While some saw it as a profound revelation, others viewed it as a threat to orthodoxy. The story of the Watchers and their forbidden teachings reflects the concerns of a society that fears the corruption of its faith by external influences. This book was valued in some Jewish communities, as evidenced by the Dead Sea Scrolls, where fragments of the Book of Enoch are found. This suggests that, although not universally accepted, it occupied an important place in the devotion and theology of some groups. However, the growing need for a formal and consistent canon eventually led to its exclusion. Religious leaders wanted to avoid any text that could be interpreted in a way that would lead people away from their established faith. In the early centuries of Christianity, the Book of Enoch also found defenders and opponents. Some church fathers, like Tertullian, considered it inspired, while others rejected it for its apocalyptic and esoteric content. The early church faced numerous heresies and divergent teachings, and the establishment of a clear canon was essential to maintain doctrinal unity. Imagine the debate among scholars and religious leaders of the time, weighing the theological depth of the Book of Enoch against the potential for confusion and division. This tension between innovation and tradition is a recurring theme in the history of religions. As we reflect on the impact and controversy of the Book of Enoch, we can find parallels in our own lives. We are often confronted with ideas and knowledge that challenge our fundamental beliefs and values. It is essential to distinguish what strengthens us from what might lead us astray. Now let's talk about the rediscovery of the Book of Enoch and its influence today. The 18th century brought with it an era of discoveries and rediscoveries. Among them, the discovery of the Book of Enoch was an event that astonished the academic and religious world. Over the centuries, this text had been almost forgotten, but its rediscovery opened the door to new interpretations and debates. During the 17th and 18th centuries, European explorers and scholars began to find copies of the Book of Enoch in Ethiopia. There, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church had preserved the book as part of its biblical canon. This inclusion, unknown to many in the Western world, sparked new interest and curiosity. The Ethiopian text was translated into English, allowing scholars to study it and share their findings with a wider audience. In modern society, characterized by a growing interest in archaeology and history, the Book of Enoch provided a fascinating window into the beliefs and concerns of the ancients. Its detailed descriptions of fallen angels, giants, and cosmic secrets provided rich material for analysis and speculation. As studies advanced, it became clear that the book had influenced other apocalyptic and esoteric works, including many New Testament texts. The rediscovery of the Book of Enoch also raised questions about the formation of the biblical canon and the reasons for the exclusion of certain texts. Scholars began to examine more closely the historical and theological process that led to the selection of the books included in the Bible. This critical examination revealed the complexities and tensions within ancient and modern religious communities. Imagine the excitement of researchers when they discovered such an ancient and revealing text. Their research took place at a time when humanity was trying to understand its place in the cosmos and the nature of good and evil. These explorations remind us that history is not a fixed narrative, but a story in constant evolution. The Book of Enoch is studied today not only as a religious work but also as a cultural and literary document. Its stories and visions continue to inspire writers, artists, and thinkers around the world. For many, it represents a bridge between the ancient and modern worlds, showing how ideas and beliefs can endure and transform over time. Sometimes what we consider lost or insignificant can emerge and offer us new perspectives and understanding. In our lives, it is important to be open to recovering and re-evaluating our beliefs and knowledge. In conclusion, the mystery of the Book of Enoch and its exclusion from the biblical canon offers us valuable lessons on discernment, wisdom, and the importance of explaining our faith with an open mind and heart. As we reflect on these themes and apply their teachings, we can enrich our spiritual growth and strengthen our relationship with the divine. Join me in future explorations of these fascinating topics as we continue to unravel the mysteries of the Bible and its ancient texts. Now I invite you to click on the recommended video on the screen to discover why the Jews rejected Jesus. We will explore the deep historical, theological, and cultural reasons behind this fascinating question. Learn how interpretations of the scriptures and tradition have influenced this position, and gain a richer understanding of the differences between Judaism and Christianity. Don't miss it.